A dead weight pinned my arms to my chest, a radiating warmth that felt both foreign and disturbingly comforting. My first conscious thought wasn't about where I was, but who. A scent, sharp and clean like freshly cut cedarwood mixed with something musky and uniquely human, filled my lungs. My head throbbed in a painful, rhythmic protest against the morning light filtering through the blinds. I tried to shift, to escape the heavy limb draped over me, but it only tightened its hold. My eyes cracked open, blurry and unfocused, and I stared at a ceiling that wasn't mine. It was a stark, unforgiving white, unlike the popcorn-textured mess above my own bed. Panic, cold and sharp, sliced through the fog of my hangover. This wasn't my room. I was in an unfamiliar bed, wrapped in sheets that felt impossibly soft against my skin, and tangled up with a body that was decidedly not my own. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drum solo of pure terror. I managed to twist my head, and my gaze fell upon a photograph on the nightstand. A smiling young man with dark, unruly hair and piercing hazel eyes stood with his arm around a woman who shared his features. It was James Carter and his mom. James Carter, my roommate, the campus Adonis, the guy who was so straight, he probably thought rainbows were just an optical illusion. And I was in his bed. My gaze snapped downward, and that's when I saw it. There, stark against the pale skin of my neck, was a crimson stain the size of a silver dollar. It wasn't a smudge or a rash. It was a Hickey, a deliberate, possessive mark that screamed a story my brain refused to remember. A brand of guilt. My name is Ethan Parker, and Euros trade am the sole resident of our dorm's out and proud club. When it came to a list of potential suspects for this artwork on my neck, the list was tragically short. It had one name, James, but that was impossible. The guy was practically a walking, breathing masterpiece of genetic luck and heterosexual certainty. Legends of his high school rejections were whispered in the hallways. Euros he'd turned down a dozen confessions from hopeful guys, each one met with a polite but firm "I don't swing that way." So how, in the name of all that is holy and sane, did I end up here, marked like a territory, in the bed of the one person on campus I was trying my hardest to avoid? I scrambled out of the bed, the sudden movement sending a wave of nausea through me. My head felt like it was sloshing around in my skull. Across the room, James himself was leaning against his desk, the epitome of casual perfection. His dark hair was a mess from sleep, falling across his forehead in a way that should have been illegal. The morning sun caught the sharp angle of his cheekbones, and he was scrolling through his phone as if the world hadn't just imploded in my head. He must have sensed me staring, because his head lifted, and those hazel eyes, cool and utterly unreadable, met mine. "Morning, sunshine," he said. His voice was a low, gravelly hum, roughened by sleep, and it sent an involuntary shiver down my spine. I opened my mouth to respond, but all that came out was a dry croak. My throat felt like sandpaper. He slid a glass of water across his desk towards me without a word. I snatched it, my hand shaking slightly, and gulped down half of it before I saw his gaze drop, just for a second, to my neck. My hand flew up reflexively, covering the incriminating mark as if it were a state secret. "Ah, thanks," I managed to say, my voice hoarse. "My head is killing me." He just nodded, but there was an unsettling stillness about him, an expectant look in his eyes as if he was waiting for me to say more, to explain, to confess. I wasn't about to. The previous night was a gaping black hole in my memory, a void I had no intention of exploring in front of Mr. "I don't swing that way." Instead, I opted for the most obvious question, my voice barely a whisper. Why am I in your bed? Before James could formulate an answer, the universe decided to throw another grenade into my already chaotic morning. The door to our room swung open and Noah, my best friend and the designated agent of chaos in my life, sauntered in, earbuds dangling from his neck. "Oh, thank God. You're alive," he declared, dramatically flopping onto my own blessedly empty bed across the room. "Dude, you were on another planet last night. You were practically superglued to James, like a drunk octopus with separation anxiety. He had to literally carry you back." I choked on the water I was trying to swallow. An octopus? My face was burning, a hot flush of shame crawling up my neck. I risked a glance at James, fully expecting to see a smirk of disgust or amusement. But his face was a blank canvas, his eyes fixed on me with that same unnerving, unreadable intensity. Noah, oblivious, popped a gummy bear into his mouth with a grin. "Nope, just reporting the facts. You were all, James. Don't leave me, you smell like heaven." It was a performance worthy of an Oscar, my friend. My stomach plummeted into my shoes. I said what? "Sorry," I mumbled, forcing a laugh that sounded more like a strangled cough. "First time getting that wasted. Guess I'm not built for it." I watched James's jaw tighten, a subtle clench of muscle that betrayed some hidden emotion. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, his focus entirely on me. "You don't remember anything from last night?" he asked, and his voice was different, softer. Was that disappointment I heard, or was it suspicion? Everyone in the dorm knew I was gay, it wasn't a secret. But James had always maintained this cool, impenetrable distance. He tolerated my presence, but it always felt like he Eurostrayed rather be sharing a room with a rabid badger. If I had let something slip last night, confessed my stupid, hopeless crush, I was done for. "Nope," I said, popping the P for extra emphasis, trying to sound convincing. "Total blackout. Did I do something monumentally stupid?" He held my gaze for a beat too long, an eternity stretching between us, before he finally shook his head. "Forget it." He grabbed his backpack, his movements sharp and decisive, and headed for the door. "See you later." The click of the door shutting echoed in the sudden silence. I deflated, slumping back against the headboard of his bed, the scent of him still clinging to the sheets. Noah raised an eyebrow, finally sensing the tension. "What's the deal with you two? He's acting even weirder than usual." "Nothing," I said, far too quickly. "Just a killer hangover and the new knowledge that I'm apparently a clingy, poetic drunk." Noah snorted. "Clingy is an understatement, bro. You were practically writing sonnets to his cologne." Kept murmuring about how he smelled like a forest after the rain. My stomach did another Narcissus flip. "Oh God, Noah, stop. Relax." It was kind of endearing. He didn't seem to mind, Noah said, tossing another gummy bear into the air and catching it in his mouth. "Honestly, for a guy who's supposedly allergic to other dudes, he was way too gentle carrying you. I'm talking full-on, princess-style gentle, like you were made of glass." I groaned, burying my face in my hands. This was a nightmare. He's straight, Noah. Like, rejects every guy who breathes in his direction straight. I probably annoyed him so much he's already filling out the roommate transfer forms. Noah just shrugged, ever the optimist. "Or maybe he's not as straight as you think. Ever consider that?" I shot him a withering look. "Yeah, and maybe I'll spontaneously develop the ability to fly tomorrow." "Drop it." But as Noah launched into a story about his own dramatic night, my mind kept replaying the morning's events. James's bed, The Hickey, the way he Eurostrayed D looked at me, that strange mix of disappointment and expectation. What had I done? Had I confessed everything? Worse, was it possible that I hadn't made that Hickey happen alone? I stumbled into our shared bathroom, splashing my face with ice-cold water. The face staring back at me in the mirror was pale and haunted. The Hickey was a defiant splash of color against my skin, red and undeniable. I poked at it gingerly, twisting my neck, trying to imagine any possible contortion that would allow me to do that to myself. It was impossible. So that left only one explanation. James, the guy who would rather gargle glass than show affection to another man, had decided to. What? Mark me, alcohol makes people do strange things, sure, but this was a whole other level of bizarre. Back in the room, Noah was still lounging on my bed, scrolling through his phone. Yo, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I hesitated, the words catching in my throat. Then they tumbled out in a rush. Did I say anything else last night? Like anything really weird? Noah smirked. Besides, the James is my guardian angel sent from heaven stuff. Nar, why? You hiding something from your bestie? No, I lied, instinctively tugging the collar of my shirt higher to hide the evidence. Just making sure I didn't, declare my undying love for the bartender or something. He laughed a loud, carefree sound. You're safe. But hey, if you're crushing on James, just admit it. You know I'm the best wingman a guy could ask for. Crushing on James, I scoffed, maybe a little too loudly. He's not my type. Too perfect, too broody, and did I mention straight? Noah rolled his eyes dramatically. Methinks the lady doth protest too much. Shut up, Shakespeare, I grumbled, throwing a pillow at him. But my mind was a chaotic whirlwind. James's voice echoed in my head. You don't remember anything. What was I supposed to remember? What crucial piece of this insane puzzle was I missing? And why did my stupid, treacherous heart perform a series of acrobatic flips every time I pictured his stupidly handsome face? I collapsed onto my own bed this time, the familiar lumpy mattress a small comfort. One thing was crystal clear. I had to play it cool. No more drunken confessions, real or imagined. No more slipping up around James. If he even got a hint that I was into him, I'd Eurostrayed D be kicked out of this dorm faster than you can say homophobic roommate. But as I closed my eyes, trying to will the world away, all I could see was that damning mark on my neck. And all I could wonder was, James, what in the hell did you do to me? The next few days were an exercise in tactical avoidance. I became a master of disappearing acts, timing my entrances and exits to the dorm room with military precision. The thought of facing James after the Hickey incident and my drunken octopus routine was enough to make me want to live in the library. By noon the day after, our Eurostrayed D sworn a solemn vow of sobriety, at least within a 10-mile radius of James Carter, the straightest arrow in the quiver, and my roommate from the 9th circle of hell. The reality of my situation had settled in like a block of ice in my stomach. I was trapped. Back in high school, James was a legend. He moved through the crowded hallways like a ship parting the sea, dodging confessions from love-struck boys and girls with the grace of a professional athlete. The story of him shutting down a junior war Eurostrayed D tearfully confessed his love was campus lore. A simple, brutal, I don't swing that way. My entire plan for college had been beautifully simple: keep my head down, my gay card close to my chest when necessary, and stay completely off James Carter's radar. Last night had taken that plan lit it on fire, and scattered the ashes. I was scrolling aimlessly through my phone when a text from Noah lit up the screen. It was a meme of a cartoon octopus clinging desperately to a tree trunk. The caption read, "You last night." I groaned, tossing my phone onto the bed. "Hilarious," I muttered to the empty room, but my mind was a million miles away, fixated on the phantom sensation of the Hickey still faintly visible beneath my hoodie. I needed answers, and Noah, for all his chaotic energy, was my only witness. I found him in the common room, systematically demolishing a family-sized bag of potato chips. "Hey," I said, sliding onto the couch next to him. "Last night, did I say anything truly catastrophically dumb, beyond the whole cologne-worshipping thing?" Noah crunched on a chip, a smirk playing on his lips. "What, you worried you accidentally proposed? Nah, man. You just kept mumbling about how he was so pretty and so tall. Oh, and at one point, you tried to braid his hair." It was a classic Ethan moment. I buried my face in my hands, the heat of embarrassment crawling up my neck again. "Braid his hair? Why didn't you stop me?" "Because it was comedy gold," he said, tossing a chip at me. "Relax." James didn't even flinch. He was just like, "All right, let's get this idiot to bed." He was actually kind of sweet about it, if you ask me. "Sweet," I scoffed. "The guy's a walking no homo sign. I probably freaked him out so bad he's going to request a hazmat team to fumigate his side of the room." I lowered my voice, glancing around the common room. "Did I, mention anything about being gay?" Noah's smirk finally faded, replaced by a look of genuine confusion. "Dude, you're out to practically the entire campus. Why are you so paranoid? James knows you're gay. He's not going to evict you for it." "Yeah, but he's James," I insisted, as if that explained everything. "He has this vibe, like he'd rather sleep in a dumpster than share oxygen with me." What if I said something that crossed a line for him? Noah shrugged, unconcerned. "You didn't. You just kept repeating how good he smells." Which, I gotta admit, the guy does smell good. Like expensive cologne and quiet confidence. I shot him a glare, not helping, but his words stuck with me as I trudged back to the dorm. If I hadn't revealed any state secrets, then why had James looked so damn strange this morning? And the Hickey, where in the world did it come from? I locked the dorm room door behind me, relieved to find it empty, and headed straight for the bathroom. It was time for some serious detective work. In the harsh light of the bathroom mirror, I tugged down the collar of my hoodie. The mark was undeniable. A purplish-red bruise just below my collarbone. It was in the perfect spot, a place that screamed intimacy. I twisted and turned, trying to reach the spot with my own lips, contorting my body in ways that were probably not physically possible. No dice. Unless I had secretly joined the circus overnight, there was no way I had done this to myself. My stomach churned with a mixture of dread and a strange, unwelcome flutter of excitement. I've seen enough romantic comedies to know exactly what this looked like, and it wasn't an unfortunate encounter with a vacuum cleaner. I leaned against the cold sink, my brain spinning. "Okay, Ethan, think." I went out with Noah. We hit that bar downtown. We did way too many tequila shots. And nothing. A complete and total blank. Noah said James brought me home, but how did I get from the bar to his bed? And why was my neck looking like a crime scene? I pulled off my hoodie to change into something else, and farter Euros trade S when I saw it. The shirt I was wearing wasn't mine. It was a soft, gray t-shirt that was slightly too big on me, and it smelled faintly of that familiar cedarwood cologne. It was Jan's Eurostrade shirt. My heart did a stupid, frantic leap. Had he changed my clothes? I bolted out of the bathroom, phone in hand, and speed-dialed Noah. "Dude," I said, the second he picked up. "Who changed my clothes last night?" Noah laughed on the other end of the line. "Chill out, drummer queen. It was James. You were already passed out in his bed, wearing his shirt, when I left. The guy's a freaking saint for putting up with your drunk ass." I hung up, my pulse hammering in my ears. James. He had carried me home. He had undressed me. He had put me in his own shirt and tucked me into his own bed. And somewhere, during that sequence of events, a hickey had magically appeared on my neck. But why? He was straight. Capital S straight. The kind of straight that made old-fashioned uncles nod in approval. There was no way he would Euros right. I paced the small room, my mind racing, trying to piece together a narrative that made sense. Maybe I'd hooked up with someone at the bar, and James had just been the one to rescue me. But Noah would have mentioned that. He lived for that kind of gossip. Or maybe I Eurostrade fallen and hit my neck on something perfectly hickey-shaped. Yeah, and maybe pigs were currently taking flying lessons outside my window. The only logical suspect was James, but the motive made zero sense. Unless alcohol transformed him into a completely different person. My phone buzzed, a reminder for a club meeting. I groaned. I had to face him eventually. My new strategy was simple: play dumb. Act like last night was a foggy, insignificant blur. If he brought it up, I'd laugh it off. There was no way I was letting Mr. Perfect know I was having a full-blown existential crisis over a mark on my neck he probably didn't Eurostrade even remember making. I grabbed my backpack, catching my reflection one last time. The hickey peeked out from my collar, bold and incriminating. I tugged my hoodie higher. "You're staying hidden, you little traitor," I muttered. But as I walked out the door, one question echoed relentlessly in my mind: if James had left that marker what on earth did it mean? And why did the very idea make my dumb, reckless heart race? The photography club meeting was supposed to be my safe zone, my chance to avoid James. But fate, it seemed, had a twisted sense of humor. I'd spent the entire day dodging him like he was a walking, talking landmine. My brain was still trying to process the hickey mystery, and Ethan Parker, master of stealth, was not about to get cornered by Mr. Straight and Sexy with probing questions about my drunken escapades. So, I scarfed down a quick lunch and bolted to the meeting room early, hoping to claim a seat in the farthest corner, far away from James's gravitational pull. It was a huge mistake. I pushed open the door, and there he was. James Carter. Alone, he was sprawled in a chair, looking like he Eurostrade just stepped out of a cologne advertisement. The glow of his laptop screen illuminated his face, and those intense hazel eyes flicked up, pinning me to the spot the second I walked in. My stomach executed a perfect triple somersault. Hey, I managed, aiming for a tone of breezy nonchalance but landing somewhere in the neighborhood of a squeaky mouse. "You're early." He closed his laptop, the soft click echoing in the quiet room, and leaned back in his chair. "Needed some quiet," he paused, his gaze sweeping over me. "You too?" "Yeah, quiet," I lied, clutching my backpack like it was a life raft. What I needed was a fallout bunker to hide from him and the damn hickey, which was currently burning a hole of guilt through my hoodie. I slid into a seat on the opposite side of the room, sending a silent prayer to any deity that might be listening to just let him leave me alone. No such luck. James stood up, moving with that infuriatingly smooth stride of his, and walked directly towards me. "You sure you don't remember anything from the other night?" His voice was low, laced with an almost teasing quality, but his eyes were sharp, analytical, like he was trying to solve a complex puzzle. I swallowed hard, my mouth suddenly as dry as the Sahara. Nope, total blackout. Why? Did I try to sing karaoke on a tabletop or something? Play dumb, Ethan. It's your only move. He tilted his head, the ghost of a smirk playing at the corners of his lips. Something like that. Before I could press for more details, the door swung open and the rest of the club members poured in, their cheerful chatter saving me from further interrogation. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, slumping in my chair as Avery, our energetic club president, called the meeting to order. "All right, gang," Avery announced, clapping their hands together. "This weekend, for our annual team-building exercise, we're going on a camping trip. James and I have it all planned out. Tents, bonfire, €euros the works. The sign-up sheet is going around now. Camping with James." My heart sank into my boots. I glanced over at him, and of course he was already watching me, his expression as unreadable as ever. When the sign-up sheet reached me, I scanned it desperately, hoping to find I'd been paired with literally anyone else. No dice. Avery, in their infinite wisdom, had already penciled my name in right next to James's, because the universe clearly enjoyed torturing me. The rest of the meeting was a blur. I was too busy having a full-blown internal panic attack. Me and James, alone in a tent, just days after the Hickey incident. I would genuinely rather share a sleeping bag with a grizzly bear. By the time Avery dismissed us, I was already plotting my escape. I made a beeline for the door, but James caught up to me in a few long strides, falling into step beside me. "Excited for the trip?" he asked, his tone so casual it was infuriating, as if he wasn't the primary source of my current mental breakdown. Thrilled, I deadpanned, keeping my eyes fixed on the pavement. "Nothing says fun like bugs, dirt, and questionable hygiene." He chuckled, a low, warm sound that did annoying things to my pulse. "You'll survive. I'll make sure of it." I opened my mouth to fire back a sarcastic retort, but he stopped walking so abruptly that I didn't notice until I crashed right into his back. It was like hitting a warm, solid wall that smelled faintly of cedarwood. I stumbled backward, and in a flash he turned, his hands shooting out to grab my waist and steady me. Before my brain could even begin to process what was happening, he had backed me against the cool brick wall of the hallway, his hands planted on either side of my head, caging me in. My mind went completely blank. "Ethan," he said, and his voice was a low, dangerous whisper. His fingers brushed against the fabric of my hoodie, slowly, deliberately, tugging it aside to reveal the faded but still visible mark on my neck. "Care to explain this?" My face erupted in flames. Euros, it's an allergy," I blurted out, because my brain had apparently decided to abandon me in my hour of need. "You know, pollen, or something." His eyes darkened, a storm brewing in their hazel depths. He leaned in closer, so close I could feel his breath ghost across my skin. "Allergic to what, exactly?" His thumb gently grazed the mark, and I swear my knees almost buckled. "Pollen doesn't do this." I was drowning in his gaze, my heart hammering against my ribs so loudly I was sure he could hear it. Bad pollen, I mumbled, grasping at straws. Look, I don't know, okay? Can you just not make this weird? He held my gaze for another torturous second, then he stepped back, his lips twitching as if he was fighting back a smile. Weird, right? He was about to say something else, but my phone buzzed, the sound shattering the intense moment. I fumbled for it, grateful for the interruption, and answered without even looking at the caller ID. Hello, I said, quickly slipping past him and speed walking down the hall. I could feel his eyes burning into my back, but I didn't dare look back. Ethan, a familiar voice, low and hesitant, came through the phone. It's Liam. My blood ran cold. Liam Hayes, my high school crush. The guy who, after finding out I liked him, had called me disgusting and then stood by while his friends made my life a living hell. I froze in the middle of the hallway, my hand gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. What do you want? I miss you, he said, the fake sincerity in his voice so thick it was nauseating. Can we talk? I hung up, my hands shaking uncontrollably. A flood of ugly memories washed over me. Liam Eurostrade's sneering face, the sound of lockers being slammed shut as I walked by. The hateful notes slipped into my bag. I thought I had moved on, but hearing his voice was like ripping a barely healed wound wide open. I kept walking, my pace quickening. I was vaguely aware of James still somewhere behind me, but I didn't care. I just needed to get back to the dorm, lock the door, and pretend this entire day never happened. By the time I reached our room, James was already there, leaning against the doorframe, watching me with an expression I couldn't decipher. You okay? He asked, his voice softer now. Fine, I snapped, brushing past him into the room. I threw myself onto my bed, staring up at the ceiling, my mind a chaotic mess. Liam's call had rattled me, but James's proximity, his actions, were so much worse. That moment against the wall replayed in my head on a loop. His touch, his voice, the way he had looked at the Hickey, not with confusion, but with something that looked disturbingly like ownership. What was his deal? Was this some kind of twisted game? Was he messing with me, testing my limits? Or, God forbid, did he actually know something I didn't? Desperate for a distraction, I grabbed my phone and opened the anonymous campus forum. I needed to vent. I started typing help. My roommate is a supposedly straight guy who might also be a homophobe, and I'm gay. How do I survive this semester? I hit post, then immediately froze. What if James saw it? What if he somehow knew it was me? My heart pounded with a fresh wave of panic as I quickly deleted the post and shut off my phone. Across the room, James was unpacking his bag, his movements slow and deliberate. You sure you're fine? He asked again, not looking up from his task. Yep, I said, my voice tight. Just peaky. He paused, and then a small smirk touched his lips. Good. Wouldn't want my favorite roommate falling apart on me before our big camping trip. Favorite. My traitorous heart did a little skip. Keep dreaming, Carter, I muttered, pulling my hoodie on tighter, creating a barrier between me and the world, between me and him. But as he let out a soft laugh and turned away, one thought refused to leave me alone. If James was so damn straight, why did his eyes keep saying something else entirely?